After 10 games into the 2020-21 Premier League season, Arsenal are 14th on the points table. They have a measly 13 points to show for their outings. Mikel Arteta's men began the season in fine form, adding the Community Shield to their honours at Liverpool's expense after their FA Cup triumph over Chelsea. It was soon followed by a 3-0 routing of Fulham at Craven Cottage. There were high expectations from this Gunners squad, and it's not come to fruition. Arsenal has supposedly ironed out their issues and were going to give a better account of their abilities. Their inconsistent displays have dashed those hopes. They suffered the ignominy of a 1-2 defeat at the hands of Wolves, and it was the first game of the season where Pepe was not available for selection. It was due to this red card in the 0-0 draw against Leeds United at Elland Road. Like Arsenal, Pepe's loss of form is particularly worrying. Like Mikel Arteta, the Ivory Coast international was supposed to be their knight in shining armour. He was supposed to lift the goal-scoring burden and make the Gunners an exciting prospect to watch again. But just like Arsenal, watching the 25-year-old on the pitch is quite difficult to watch. He looks out of sorts and bereft of ideas. He's under his second managerial supervision, but has failed to live up to his billing. Neither the goals nor the assists have followed him to North London. Arsenal have not gotten anything close to the €80 million they spent on his services. 12 goals in 56 competitive outings is hardly anything to write home about. Despite his poor form and even worse playing returns, there is interest in his services as the 2021 January transfer window approaches. Ronald Koeman wants him at Barcelona. With Ansu Fati sidelined until March and Ousmane Dembele heading to the exit door, the Dutch tactician wants a replacement and has reportedly put Pepe on his shortlist. The Catalans will have to fight it out with Stefano Pioli's AC Milan for his signature. The Rossoneri are at the top of the Serie A points table and want to reinforce their lines as they make their bid for Italian top-flight glory. It is believed that he can combine with Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Ante Rebic to make Milan's attacking lineup even more fluid. However, an exit for Pepe is far from being realised anytime soon. He has struggled, but for a player who still has his best years ahead of him, Arsenal shouldn't be willing to give up on their bet so soon. After all, this is the same player who alighted French football with 23 goals and 12 assists as recently as the 18-19 campaign. It wasn't a fluke campaign, as it was an improvement on his returns the previous year, where he managed an impressive 14 goals and 5 assists. And all of this was managed not in a central role, but from the right flank. The €80 million Arsenal paid for Pepe's services can be mocked right now, but it was thought of as a major piece of transfer business at the time. The Gunners were a struggling side, and he was supposed to make them an attacking powerhouse alongside Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexandre Lacazette. Moreover, his arrival at the Emirates coup. Just as Chelsea were losing Eden Hazard to Real Madrid and were unable to reinforce their ranks, crosstown rivals Arsenal were adding to their dressing room with another Lille player. The Gunners were strengthening and should be coming out of the shadows of Chelsea, who've dominated London derbies in recent history. Pepe's arrival was to signal a shift of power back into the hands of the Gunners, and at Real Madrid, Eden Hazard's arrival was to signal their movement into a new era where Cristiano Ronaldo was old news. On the silverware front, the duo's arrival at their respective clubs has coincided with triumph. Real Madrid with their record 34th La Liga title and Arsenal with their record 14th FA Cup trophy. But for the players involved, it's not materialised in that manner. Just like Hazard admitted that the 19-20 season was the worst of his career, Pepe would have similar emotions to share. A player's failure to perform at his established high standards does not solely rely on him. It also has to be with his health, the sporting project he's in, and the players he relies upon. Pepe has had a run-in with fortune after his star was rising. All the external factors that should have aided his success were never there. As he arrived in his new surroundings, an injury curtailed his pre-season preparations. There are always teething issues when you move between leagues and adapt to the new competition. This is expected, and you get leeway for it. The inverted winger never got this luxury. By the time he got fit, Unai Emery was under immense pressure to deliver. Just like Mikel Arteta is right now, Arsenal were struggling in the Premier League. They were in the bottom half of the points table and lacked identity. Pepe was thrown in the deep end without much support. We can now understand why the results never came. The team was out of sorts, and despite all his talent, he couldn't resurrect the team's fortunes all on his own. Pepe couldn't, neither could Aubameyang nor Lacazette. Some neutrals believe that Mesut Ozil could have helped, but the German was on the warpath with the club's hierarchy, one that he's still on to this day. More on this later. But one has to understand that the circumstances regarding his arrival weren't perfect, and they definitely didn't improve with Mikel Arteta's appointment after Unai Emery was given his marching orders. A lot was expected from the Spaniard. He was a captain at the club and earned his badges under Pep Guardiola's tutelage. He was the messiah the Arsenal faithful had been asking for ever since Arsene Wenger left. Arteta was a frontrunner for the job when Emery was appointed, but lost out due to his lack of experience. This was his time to shine, and probably the Gunners would become Barcelona 2.0, and Pepe can be what Lionel Messi was to that Blaugrana side. It was all a fantasy concocted in the minds of fans who want their team to succeed at all costs. Despite their silverware accumulation, Arsenal are nowhere near a side that was managed by Pep Guardiola. It's not about the quality of players at Arteta's disposal or the money he can spend in the transfer market. The San Sebastian native might have similar views on pressing and counter-pressing, but not on building attacking plays. It seemed everyone was duped by the title he had at the most attacking team in Premier League history. Arsenal fans certainly feel that. The Gunners don't attack, they sit in a low block and invite the pressure. This isn't the right tactic if you have David Luiz starting for you or people like Mustafi and Rob Holding in your lines. Irrespective of the ploy, in this setup the forwards have to rely on counter-attacking opportunities. It also means that Arsenal don't create anything on their own and rely on the mistakes of their rivals. These strategies work when Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea come to visit, but not against teams that also like to shut the opposition out. This also means that your forwards have to work extra hard to get on the scoresheet. At the beginning, Arsenal fans were happy as their side scraped by in low-scoring fixtures, but the tactics have caught up to them. The blame is being put on players like Lacazette and Pepe who've struggled to score, but is it really their fault? Despite all the issues about his work rate and off-field antics, Arsenal have one of the best, if not the best, number 10 in England, but they refuse to use him. Mesut Ozil can improve the productivity of Arteta's front three, but his stubbornness is costing the side vital points. It seems as if they're deliberately sabotaging their chances and ruining the careers of those who are on their books. It would make sense if they had players who could replace him in the lineup, but there's no one who can hold a candle to his abilities. Without Ozil, Arsenal are left to being all effort and no charisma workhorses. It looks great on paper that everyone ran their socks off, but with nothing to show for it, it counts for nothing. This leaves fans angry, and pundits pick up on that. There's not a justified reason for Mesut Ozil being out. Neither was there to the criticism that Granit Xhaka faced, but it came and negatively affected the Gunners' results. Pepe is in the same firing line right now, especially after his red card against Leeds. It was his second start in 8 Premier League outings. He should have given a good account of himself against Guardiola's mentor, but instead earned an early bath. When you're struggling for minutes, you take every opportunity you can get. However, like his time in London, nothing goes according to his plan. After looking inside from the bench, his night was cut short after an Oscar-worthy performance by Ezgian Alioski. Not our words, thank Patrice Evra for that. But does it warrant rumours of him being sold to European rivals? It's far too early in the campaign to make such assertions about the transfer and about the success of Pepe on the pitch. The campaign started late, and despite the fact that we're in December right now, only 10 Premier League games have been played so far. A lot of noise has been made about the 25-year-old as he was the most recent player to disappoint as Arsenal's poor run continues. Moreover, a good 3/4 of the campaign still awaits us. Last year, Man United was struggling to get results, and they had a similar counter-attacking approach to get rid of their rivals. It paid dividends when Solskjaer had the right players at his disposal, looking at Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes taking on creative responsibilities. This allowed Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood to score goals galore. A similar turnaround can and should be expected at the Emirates. The Gunners have the players and need time to sort out their issues. Pepe can finally be the hero they've dreamt of. The problem is not with the Ivorian, but Arsenal on the whole. Getting rid of one man just papers over the cracks, but it doesn't address the problem. Like Gabriel Magalhaes, William Saliba, Kieran Tierney, Eddie Nketiah, Gabriel Martinelli and Joe Willock, Pepe is the future of Arsenal. These players will form the backbone of the squad in years to come. They require time to grow into their own. Pepe is the most advanced in age amongst this lot and has the most experience, and like everyone else, he needs regular minutes and confidence to get going. He hasn't had a lot going in his favour ever since he arrived, but there are no questions about his quality. He'll be on Arsenal's books for a long time.